My mother-in-law is an absolute disaster, nightmare, toxic human. I know you guys probably seen some topics like this if you followed this for a long time, but this story right here is going to blow your socks off because this mother-in-law is so beside herself to the point that she thinks that she can get everything in life for free just because she raised a mama's boy. One thing I've learned the hard way is that you can't force people to love you no matter how good you are to them. Now that I share this, I should not have thought of trying to win over my mother-in-law when she clearly showed that she did not like me or wanted me to marry her son from the onset. My cousin and I met each other at a mutual friend's wedding party. We clicked immediately. He was the kind of man I wanted, kind at heart, hardworking, with a great sense of humor, and most importantly, a caring, humble person. Jake was born into money, but down the line his family business crashed after his father's death. On the other hand, I was born into an average family, and I worked so hard to make it to the top. The first time I met Jake's mother, Ariana, it was a nightmare experience. Ariana was celebrating her 42nd birthday, and Jake thought it would be perfect for me to officially meet his mother, since his older brothers were also bringing their partners. Well, I was so excited because Jake had already told me so many things about his mom, and I could not wait to meet her in person. From all the pictures of her that I had seen, it was evident that she was a fashion freak who loved trending pieces, and I got her a pair of expensive sunglasses as a birthday gift. On D-Day, Jake and I drove to his mother's house, and we arrived a couple of minutes past noon. By the time we got there, the whole house was already full of Jake's brothers and their partners. Ariana was in the living room with one of Jake's older brothers, and I could never forget the look she gave me when we walked in. When Jake introduced me as his girlfriend, she choked on the glass of wine she was drinking and asked if Jake was joking. All of this happened in my presence. I wanted to walk away, but since Jake was holding my hand, I had to stay. After the introduction, Ariana faked a smile and pretended like she was glad to see me while she clearly wasn't. Later that evening, at the dinner table, Ariana could not stop asking me questions. I don't know if she did all that to humiliate me by asking questions like, what did your late dad do for a living? Well, that was totally unnecessary. It even got to a point where her oldest son had to raise his voice at her for asking way too many personal questions, and she finally apologized. I should have known from that day that Ariana did not want me with Jake. That day, we all spent the night at her house, and I could not stop thinking of how to please her. How stupid. According to Jake, he said his mother was only putting out her outer tough appearance just to test me, and with time she would embrace me with love. Well, that never happened, because the relationship between us only soured. Months later, I found out that aside from being her last child, Jake was her favorite son out of all 3 of her kids. And that was the reason she was so particularly fond of him. After the first time she treated me badly on her birthday, Jake invited me to join him at his family get-together. This particular get-together happened to be on Thanksgiving Day, and since my younger sister was not returning from college for the holiday, I thought it was okay just to go with Jake. This time around, we were first to arrive. Because Jake wanted me to spend more time with his mother and get to know her better, we agreed to arrive a day before Thanksgiving. He already informed his mother that we were coming together, but when we got there, she only made dinner for 2. That's herself and Jake. She acted like she completely forgot that I was coming and apologized for not making dinner for me. Somehow Jake understood the impact of what his mother had done, so he offered for us to go to a restaurant for dinner. As soon as he mentioned eating out, Ariana pulled the emotional card. She told Jake that she sacrificed so much time to make his favorite meal, but because of me, Jake would not eat his food. Well, this was a very awkward moment, and I could tell that her sobs were fake. It was very annoying to see a grown woman like her to try to emotionally manipulate her son, but I kept my cool because I was trying to impress her. After she and Jake had dinner, Jake and I had to drive to a nearby restaurant to eat, and she refused to follow us and claimed she wanted to watch a very important show. The next day, when the rest of Jake's siblings arrived, I already had enough of Ariana. For starters, she woke me up at 6 in the morning to help me clean up the house. Not like I had issues with that. I was even more pleased when she knocked on Jake's door and asked if she would borrow me. By joining her to clean the house that morning, I thought we would get to know ourselves and have an actual conversation that did not revolve around my financial status and my family history. But I was wrong again. When we got downstairs to the living room, she started telling me about the kind of girls Jake used to date when he was in high school and college. She took out time to explain that they were all pretty, had perfect bodies, and none of them looked like a horse. Then she laughed after she saw my facial expression. There was no need to pretend because she knew what she was trying to do. She was indirectly telling me that I was not the perfect girl for her son because I was not so pretty and I did not have the waist of a cheerleader. As if all she had said was not enough, she still added that Jake loved slim, tall, fashionable ladies and she could not bet that he did not really love me. At that point, I didn't know what to say to her. I just allowed her to talk, and when she was done, I returned to Jake's room. I did not want to tell Jake what happened at all, because he would probably take his mother's side. Later that day, after the rest of the family had gathered for Thanksgiving, Ariana did the unimaginable. In front of everybody, she began to mock me and body shame me. Straight out of nowhere, she started telling sad jokes, and I knew she was referring to me. In fact, everybody knew she was referring to me because I was the only chubby person in the midst. Jake had the perfect body too, and his first brother's wife was nursing a baby, so Ariana could not complain about her. I come from a family of chubby people, and it's something that runs in our DNA. To be more specific, I wear a size 12. Before I met Ariana, I never had a reason to feel insecure about my body. Jake never complained about my body size, and he loved me just the way that I was. He had seen all of my baby pictures up until the time that he met me, and I maintained the same body size. At the table that evening, I thought Jake would talk to his mother or do something to stop her, but he did not. When I could not take her subtle abuse anymore, I had to leave the table. That evening, I packed my bags to go back to our town. But Jake stopped me. He said I was taking things too personally and begged me to give his mother a second chance because it was important that his mom and I got along. I did not go back to join them for dinner, and, well, I felt so terrible. After that day, I barely followed Jake to his mother's house. I'm a senior data analyst, so my job keeps me busy most of the time, and whenever I don't want to join Jake to see his mom, I use my job as a cover-up. Despite Ariana not liking me, Jake and I proceeded to get married. We loved each other so much, and we did not want his mother to come in between us. Aside from his mother being a mini devil, Jake's brothers were nice to me, and their partners became my friends too. They encouraged me to not let the things Ariana said get to me. I listened to them. I understand that Ariana loved Jake a lot, and even before I met her, Jake used to talk about her a lot. He also loved his mother, and he listened to most of the things that she said. After Jake and I married, Ariana and I did not talk for months. She was clearly not happy about our wedding, and she would have preferred if Jake married somebody who met her expectations. And maybe somebody super rich. Funny enough, Ariana wasn't rich. Maybe she used to be when her husband was alive, but she's not anymore. She had a job, and she also was dependent on her children to support her whenever they could. Most of her high taste in the things that she bought for herself were sponsored by her kids or her boyfriend, whom she eventually broke up with. After 1 year of dating Jake and almost 2 years of trying to get Ariana to like me, I stopped. My younger sister advised me to stop acting desperately around Ariana because she never appreciated a single thing that I did for her. Last Christmas, I bought her an expensive cashmere sweater. Well, not like I wanted to. Jake's family has the yearly ritual of exchanging Christmas gifts, and I was forced to give Ariana something, which she never acknowledged. Instead, 2 days after she opened the gift, she posted on our WhatsApp family group chat that somebody got her a knockoff cashmere sweater. And she'd been donating it to the charity because she could not wear such a vile thing. I was so mad when I saw it, so I decided to never gift her again, even if she were the last person on Earth. Now, The reason I'm sharing all this here is because of Ariana. About 6 months ago, Jake's older brother and one of Jake's aunts, Beth, all agreed that we would go on a family vacation. The trip was meant to be a vacation to Africa. The first stop was meant to be Kenya. And then from there, we'd go to another, more small, remote place to experience the beautiful African culture, food, wildlife, nature, and oh so much more. Our initial plan was for each of us to at least have $1,500 each, and take our work leave during that period since we all planned on staying there for at least 2 weeks. About a month before the trip, both of Jake's older brothers canceled on us. His oldest brother said he could not meet up with his savings since we had to take his wife along too. His second brother said he had recently taken his work leave, so he could not take another. Meanwhile, I did not know that Jake and his brothers were supposed to take care of Ariana and their aunt's expenses, but since the major reason they canceled had to do with money, Jake was forced to take up the responsibility. Unfortunately, at the same time, Jake was unemployed, and none of his family members knew it. He begged me to cover for him and foot the bills, and he would pay me back when he was back on his feet. I knew he wouldn't, because Jake never paid back any money that he borrowed from me, no matter how small or big the amount was. But I still decided to cover the bills. I know this sounds poetic, but I did it out of the goodness of my heart and also to cover for him. Everybody believed he was doing great, and the organization he worked for, because he used to brag about it all the time. Fast forward to the trip. I made all the reservations, made the booking, paid for the flight tickets, and trust me, it was a ton of money. And I ate deeply into my savings. Since Jake's brother canceled, it was only me, Jake, his mother, his aunt, and I single-handedly paid for everything. On the day we were set to leave, I noticed that Ariana was surprised to see me there. And the moment she saw me, she whispered something to her sister, who gave me a mean look. Honestly, since I was with Jake, I did not pay much attention to my mother-in-law and her sister. Jake and I sat together, and we both had a great time. When we arrived in Kenya, we got to the hotel that I booked for us, and when we got there, Ariana made a scene, and she insisted that she wanted a separate room for herself because her older sister snores at night. That was a very hilarious demand. I told her sorry, it's not possible because the cash I had on me was mainly for our refreshments and food and a little bit of an emergency fund. When she heard that, she mocked me in the presence of her sister and said she wasn't referring to me but her son. She even went so far as to say that I did not even have money to buy myself a good wig, talking more about paying for a fancy hotel room for her. All this while, I didn't say anything, because the plan was to cover up for Jake, and I did not want his mother and aunt to know that I was the one footing the bill. Surprisingly, Jake agreed to pay for a separate room for his mom, knowing well that it wasn't part of the plan and I'd be paying. Our plan was to have 2 people in each room, so we could cut the cost. After agreeing to pay for another room for his mom, Jake came to him and demanded that I pay for another room. I told him it's impossible because I did not make a budget for it. And to my greatest surprise, he starts to yell at me. He said that I hate his mother, and that's why I rented them a low-standard room. I even thought the reason Ariana wanted a different room was because she did not want to share one with her sister, only for Jake to tell me it's because I booked a low-standard room. The room she was referring to as low standard was even more expensive than our room. It was an entire suite, while Jake and I stayed in a room. I was angry and I told Jake I could not afford to get a more expensive suite, and he flared up. Long story short, his mother and sister ended up sharing the same room that day, and Jake's attitude toward me changed from the first day. He refused to speak with me and kept acting like a child who was grounded. It's been 2 weeks now, and Jake has been ignoring me. He keeps spending time with his mother and aunt, and whenever he returns to our room, he switches from happy Jake to angry Jake. To be honest, I don't want to pay for a more expensive room for Ariana alone. If I do that, I'll have almost no savings left by the time we get home. I also know that this will affect me and Jake's relationship a ton, and that's not what I had in mind for this vacation. Would I be the a-hole if I refuse to upgrade Ariana to a more expensive room. We plan on spending 3 more days here, and that'll be a whole lot of expenses considering that I'll still need to pay for our food and cover transportation for us to explore. Well, before we move to our next location, anyways, I look forward to your comments. Thank you guys. Update number 1. Hello everyone, thank you so much for the comments, guys. First of all, I understand why so many of you are mad. To be honest, I did not think Ariana would still be giving me a tough time for almost 2 years of being married to her son. Also, when Jake's oldest brother's wife, Emily, told me that Ariana treated her the same way, but she's loosened up with time, I thought the same would apply to me. I didn't know that she hated me for real and did not want me anywhere close to her or her son. I've tried explaining to Jake why I can't get a more expensive suit, like the most of you have asked me to do. But he's not listening. He thinks that I'm doing it intentionally, since Ariana and I are always just butting heads. Right now, I don't think I can take this anymore. I miss Jake, and again, this is not what I envisioned for us. I had the perfect vacation in mind for us, and I thought this would really make him happy since it was more of his family vacation. Somehow I feel so bad for not doing what Jake asked me to do, and I think I made him so angry because he's not always like this. If he comes back from spending time with his mom and aunt in the evening, he showers and goes straight to bed. He's completely left me out, and I feel more like a tour guide because each time we go out to explore some places, Jake, his mom, and his aunt always have a great time without me. We have a day left to spend here, and I don't think I want us to move to our next location like this. This was meant to be a happy time for all of us, not just Jake and his family. Anyways, I've decided that I will upgrade Ariana to a more expensive suite for just one night. I'm not doing this because of her, because at this point I don't really give a damn about her. I'm doing this for Jake because I want him to be happy, and I don't want anything to ruin the rest of our vacation together. I really want to thank everybody who has left a comment here for me, especially those who suggested that I do it for Jake, because at first, I did not like the idea because everything would end up the way Ariana wanted it to, and not how I wanted it to. But after a few days, Jake was still mad, and I'll do it since, well, his mom and aunt already think he's the one footing the bill. The last time I talked to him, he said that I was disrespecting him and that I caused him embarrassment. I have no idea how I did that, but I don't want to drag this any longer with him. I'll just do the majority of what you suggested. Thanks, guys. I'll update again. Hey, everyone. I did it. I said in my last update I got another room for Ariana, and it fixed the issue between me and Jake, and the only annoying part is that Ariana's attitude towards me has grown even more annoying. I don't know why she thinks she's the boss around here. I know I mentioned that we were only supposed to stay here for 3 to 4 days before moving to our next destination. Can you all imagine that Ariana extended our stay to a week? She said she loves everything here, her new room, the food, and she still has other places she wants to explore. The most annoying point is that Jake has not tried to stop her or even convince her, and it's really getting on my nerves. I've talked to Jake several times about talking to his mother, but every time I tell him that, he ends up not doing it. I've spent far more than I've budgeted for, and Ariana keeps thinking she's on some fancy, fully paid trip, and I never thought I would say this, but I'm beginning to think I married a mommy's boy. Jake's been so annoying as of lately. He does literally everything his mother wants him to do. Since we arrived here, Ariana shopped for things that are over $1,000. Jake has not said anything, and I'm certain that if the money were his, he would not allow Ariana to spend it so recklessly. Trust me, guys, I am not being paranoid. Even if Ariana and I had a great relationship, I still would not let her spend so much money. Today's our 7th day here, and if by tomorrow Ariana tries to extend it, I'm going to create a scene. I've touched the money I've promised myself I wouldn't, and I'm running out of patience. Though Jake and I are cool now, there's almost no difference. They still leave me out of important conversations, and he spends more time with his mother than he does with me. If not for social media, I don't know what I would have done whenever I felt lonely. For the past 3 evenings, I've ended up going for walks, and each time I returned to our hotel, Jake didn't even know I was gone. I've tried to talk to him, and he keeps telling me that his mother needs him, and the reason we all came for the vacation was because of her. It hurts me so much that he feels his mother needs more attention than I do. Anyways, I've decided that I will no longer depend on Jake for my happiness. I'll do the things I like, and I'll make sure I have fun with or without him. Thanks to everybody for making time for me. I'll make another update after we get to our next destination, and I cannot wait to share my fun escapades with you all. I look forward to your comments as well. Final update. Hey guys, I see all your comments, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. I don't even know where to start because so much has happened in the past few days. Remember when I said I would make a scene if Ariana tried to extend the stay into Kenya? Well, I did not have to because she was ready to leave the next day. So, when we got to our second destination, I noticed that Ariana had been frowning from the minute we left Kenya. I suspected that it had to do with me, but I shook off the thought when she didn't say a word. The hotel I booked for us was not as fancy as the one in Kenya, but it was everything. It was beautiful, serene, and we really got to feel the African culture we wanted. When we arrived there in the evening, we all had dinner at the hotel's restaurant, and I retired early to my corridors. The following morning, when I woke up, I realized that Jake was not in the bed, and when I went out in search of him, I saw him talking to Ariana. She looked so angry, and she walked away in anger when I approached them. So, I asked Jake, what was going on? But he didn't tell me anything, and some hours later, while we were trying to order our different meals for breakfast, I could not pretend that I did not see Ariana's face turning absolutely red. It was almost like the sound of my voice was actually bothering her. There and then, just as I was about to round up my order with the waitress, Ariana got up from her chair and starts to yell. She said she wants me gone. And she didn't understand why Jake had to bring me on the trip either, that was exclusively labeled for family time. Well, okay. I ignored her and continued to talk to the waitress, but she walked to me and emptied her bottle of water on my head. I was so mad. And I pushed her away from me, yelling at her, and she yelled back. When Ariana yelled at me the first time and emptied her bottle of water on me, Jake did not say a word, or even stop her, but immediately I yelled at her. Jake yelled at me for yelling at his mom, and he called me names. Well, that's when Ariana seized the opportunity and asked me to leave because she didn't want to see me anymore because I was not a member of her family. As usual, Jake said nothing. I was disappointed, and that same day I returned to Kenya, and from there boarded a flight straight back to the US of A. What they did not know was that I did not book the room for 2 weeks, like I booked down in Kenya, and for the number of days we were supposed to stay there. Actually, my intention was to find a better hotel for us to move to that day, but Ariana ruined it. Ha! LOL. That evening, Jake called and asked if I had not booked the hotel. He said that the first hotel kicked them out, and they were stranded. They could not renew because they had insufficient cash. Also, the network was bad, so he was breaking up the whole time, and I knew why he called. And when he was done yelling, I blocked his number from calling me. To sum it all up, they ended up staying there for a week and 3 days because they literally could not get enough money to return with the tickets. Jake's aunt was on disability, so she could not afford to pay for her return ticket either. To add to that, for the 1 week plus they stayed in a bad hotel, all 3 of them shared a room, and the food there was terrible. The room had no air conditioner either, so they had to deal with the hot climate and the little cash Ariana carried with her until her sons could gather up some money. Jake's secret was exposed. I don't care. When Jake returned, I could barely recognize him because his whole body was covered in mosquito bites and other insect bites. He was so lean. And as I share this, I have no regrets and have forwarded the full amount I've spent there to me. If they refuse to pay, I'm dragging his butt to court, since that's what I got for being such a good wife. We're both giving each other the silent treatment now, and I have no idea what's going to happen, but if he wants this relationship to progress, he needs to stop acting like a mama's boy and get a damn job. In this world, I've learned that a little dose of wickedness is necessary, and I'm glad they suffered for asking me to leave. Thank you, everybody. You're the best. Guys, I didn't add any comments to this story because it was mighty evident. Almost all of the comments from the original post, the updates, they were screaming at OP. OP, are you insane? Red flag after red flag after red flag. I mean, how many red flags do you have to get from your significant other Jake and Ariana before you get the heck out of this toxic relationship? And the craziest part about this is at the end of the story, well, OP was still willing to give Jake a chance, and her one condition was if the mama boy gets a job. Guys, whew. Let me know your thoughts about this one. Do you think OP should leave the relationship, or is OP doing the correct thing trying to stick through it to the end, even though her entire savings is basically gone? All because she wanted to go on this one expensive trip and absolutely let Ariana run through everything. Guys, drop your comments down below. I would love to discuss this one with you. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate these sort of drama stories every single day. The best way to see more of these videos is to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and just remember one thing, it's cool to be kind. See ya.